Trolig regn på tirsdag. Du er ute i skogen du nå. Står den her og laster opp. Det blir sånn. Jeg må ta alt på nytt her nå. Første tiende står det. Det er 1. oktober nå. Kommer det mer penger på kontoen til meg? Da kommer det mer penger på kontoen til meg. Ja. Hormonbråk du er på det nå. Det er det. Stemmer det. Hormonbråk. Det er en sånn liten nedlatt landsby. Sammen med en kompis på samarbeidet med. Herregud. Jeg kjenner ikke at jeg er trøtt en gang nå. Ingen av fiskene som jeg har, han vil ha. Det er noe som er gærlig. Men vil jeg ikke ete han, det er bamsen min lenger. Nei, han er halvveis blid. Det er tradergods, det. Nei, det er noe av det som jeg har prøvd å gi han Bjørn her nå, så står det står som tradegods. Men han vil jo Hvor det står det igjen, da? Der. Meat, fish, cheese, bread, fungus og fruit. Jeg har både meat og fish her, og bread. Men vi vil ikke ha noen ting her. Han vil ikke ha noen ting av det som jeg har. Selv om det står de tingene på dietten din. Ja. Det er fordi at jeg visste at han ikke Han er ikke sint ennå, men han er halvveis mellom sint og blid. Så jeg vil ikke miste den, for å si det sånn. En særbjørn? Mm. Har du det? Ja, det førte meg inn på ja. Og da må han frem. Ja. Men det går bra ennå, det, fordi at han smiler nå inni her. Nå. Ja, jeg har gjort det. Nei. Jeg tenkte jeg skulle ta oss og se om jeg fant noen som hadde noe frukt eller noe sånt. Mhm. Ja, jeg vet.
What can I do for you?
Jeg er
Be
helt
careful.
inni der magene tidligere, det. Det er jo helt bort på der magene tidligere, det. Når jeg laget meg større bag, vet du, så var det plutselig noe som sørget for at det skulle bli mindre plass. Nei, at de må kjøpe frukt og ting og tang. Men vil ikke ha noe av de forskjellige fiskene som jeg hentet, i hvert fall ikke. Ja. Jeg trykker på den hundekjeksa først. Der, ja, vet du. Nei, jeg får ikke handle nå her heller. Da er det noe bygg noen plass. Hva for noe knapp er det jeg skal trykke på når at Der! Nå fikk jeg det til. Jeg trykket på sett og alt der. Da fikk jeg til å handle igjen. Der, vet du. Nei, den er hundekjeksa som er nedpå her. Den må jeg markere gul. Så kan jeg trykke på grønnsakeren eller frukta eller maten eller noe sånt. Da mater jeg petten.
Thank you.
Level 12 står det på den, men jeg har kommet til level 2 på den. Fra 2 til 12. Nei, jeg har planlagt hvem skal få julegave til meg, de guttene her. Og sist han skal få en kaffekanne til meg, fordi at når jeg tok frem en kaffekanne som han varmet seg vatten til, som han kunne få låne det første han gjorde, var å slå av sånn. Det var litt uheldig å sette den på benken, så pang, sa jeg. Og han Ganish, han skal få en matboks til meg, fordi at han har tatt en av isboksene mine til matboks. Ellers så Collect Spider i går.
Farewell.
Ja, dem skal ikke jeg ta ennå. Nei, jeg så det var noe sånn det... Hvem heter det da? Vet ikke jeg. De som er til de første gruvene, vet du, som ser ut som sånne... Tunnelrotter.
Hail.
Ja da. Jeg tror det var det at jeg hadde trykt på når at jeg logget inn på nytt, at jeg ikke fikk til å... Ja. Han hadde ikke noe i hele tatt. Nei. Er det en bjørn igjen her?
Bark, bark, bark. 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 Bark, bark, bark.
How does a tauren hide in a cherry tree? He paints his hooves red. Cover for me. I gotta whiz behind a tree. Certainly. A duck walked into an apothecary and he said,
Bark,
"Give me
bark,
some
bark.
chapstick and
Bark,
put it
bark,
on my
bark.
bill."
Bark, bark, bark.
So, an orc walks into a bar with a parrot on his shoulder. The bartender says, "Hey, where'd you get that?" The parrot says, "Duratar, they got 'em all over the place."
Bark, bark, bark. Bark, bark, bark. Bark, bark, bark.
Petten din springer etter. Det er petten din springer etter. Ja.
You need something? Have a good
Whoop, whoop! Chug, 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 whoop, whoop!
King's honor, friend. Go with honor, friend.
Ja. Okej. Ja. Ja.
Hello.
Hi, Mike.
At det skal være så vanskelig å få tak i en siste bjørn her, da. Det er ikke bare det at jeg skal ha skinning, vet du, men jeg skal ha bear meat. Får jeg noe bear meat, da? Nei! Ja vel. Hva det står på til meg da, ettersom at jeg har levert inn? Det er det sikkert. Nei. Se her, jeg har fått meg nytt feriekort, sier til Marik. Åh, har du det du, sier Marius. A, A, M og B. Ja, A, M, hva er det for noe? Jeg hadde egne bokstaver da, når jeg var nødt til å kjøre opp til B-klassen da. Jeg har det egne bokstaver selv om det var nødt til å kjøre opp til B-klassen da. Ja. Nei. Hæ? Det betyr ikke at de ikke... Jeg sier det betyr ikke at de ikke skal slutte med det. Jeg sier det betyr ikke at de ikke skal slutte med det. Ja, ja. Men de er pålagt til å begynne med det, men ikke sant, tanken med at de begynner på kontantløs betaling er jo det at de skal unngå å bruke kontanter. Ja, ja. Mhm. Det viser jo hva han kan gjøre han her nå da. må ha garn. Så 4 garn. Nei, han hadde ikke. Nei. Nei. Korsa tredd. Oi sann.
A guy walked up to me and said, I'm a
Walk,
teepee,
walk,
I'm a
walk.
wigwam, I'm a
Walk,
teepee,
walk,
I'm a wigwam.
walk,
I
walk,
said,
walk.
relax, man, you're too tense. Good tidings.
Ja.
Hello.
You need something?
Well met.
Need help?
Uh-huh.
Go with honor, friend.
How generous.
Well met.
Nei. Nei, jeg bare ser en hel drøss med pengesekker rundt omkring her. Nei. Kanskje jeg har 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quests som jeg ikke har plukket opp ennå. Ja. Ja, ja. Nei, jeg tror det var ikke noe mange quest som sto igjen på akkurat det første jeg kaller for et brett, da.
Light be with you.
Men hva for noe tror du nå, da? Jeg tenker som sånn at det kommer de til å... Ja, men jeg mener utvide på det andre spillet, bare at de gjør det like vanskelig som... Ja, at de tar den samme historien, bare det at de gjør det vanskelig på den gamle måten. Ja. Nei, fordi at jeg tenker som så at den historien, eller fortellingen om Jane, så er jo det veldig ok, spør du meg. Nei, fordi at jeg tenker som så at den fortellingen, den er noe ok i seg selv. Men det at at det er gjort så enkelt.
Can I help you? See you around.
Sounds fine.
Her blir jeg 13. Øh. Jeg husker på når at jeg ble tenåring første gangen. Det var stort, ass. Det var ikke verst. Jo, det neste blir å være med i dungeon. Yes. My mana is slow. Low. Ja. Det var noe sånt jeg sa,
You
ja.
need something?
Herregud.
See you around.
At your service.
Jeg har tatt 5 og 12 øre. Rotteøra. Tunnel rat ear. Nei, jeg har fått andre klesplagg nå, ser jeg. Jeg har fått meg andre klesplagg. I need to talking something first. I am very strong. And very strong person.
Greetings.
Vi er jo handla våpen nå.
Be careful.
Ja. Ser du ikke på meg lenger, du nå? Ja, det står 0 på meg nå, ser jeg. Ja, men 0 visning står det. Nei. Hva for noe? Ok.
Whoop, whoop! Chug, 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 whoop, whoop!
Greetings. Have a good one.
Cover for me. I gotta whiz behind a tree. Certainly.
What are you looking for? Safe travels.
What can I do for you? For the Alliance.
Nå står det igjen 1 øre. That spell isn't ready yet. That spell isn't ready yet. Den trykker litt for fort av og til.
Hi.
20 meters. Det er bare det at de sier ikke meters, engelskmenn og amerikanere. Vi får den siste her da.
I supply only the finest.
What are you looking for? For the Alliance.
Good day to you. See you around.
Nei. Vil du ikke ha debba da? Ja. Jeg var
What can
for
I do
ivrig
for you?
akkurat nå.
Safe travels.
Whoop, whoop! Chug, 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 whoop, whoop!
Ja. Nei. Skal du skrive det nå? Ja da. Ja, det som jeg laget bandasjer av nå, det var det siste som jeg plukket opp, det.
Can I help you?
Nei,
See you
begge
later.
to er grå her. Nei, den øverste er gul. Den øverste er gul.
Walk, walk, walk. Walk, walk, walk. Walk, walk, walk.
Sånn. Nå tror jeg jeg skal stenge av, selv om at jeg ikke er spesielt trøtt, selv om at jeg gjespa godt for en times tid siden, en halvtime. Yes. Ja, det er jo bare en halvtime til det. Der kom den. Ja vel. Nei, men vi prates senere i dag, ja. Faen da. X-en bare.
User disconnected from your channel.
Woo, woo! Chug, 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 chug.
It's everything there is to offer in your experience with Classic WoW. It's inevitable, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Life is about balance. Without negatives, the concept of positive doesn't even exist. This dynamic makes things interesting and creates memories which
Disconnected.
Chug 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 chug. Woo woo. Woo woo. Chug 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 chug. Woo woo. Woo woo. Chug 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 chug. Woo woo. Woo woo. Chug 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 chug. Woo woo.
Become sacred with the touch of time. So in this video, I'm gonna cover the worst people of Classic WoW, the biggest jerks. Let's get into it. Also, don't be that guy. So first on the list, we've got players who don't understand itemization and roll for items which either aren't good for them or aren't an upgrade. This happens all the time. Epics are scarce in Classic, and some people are either greedy or just looking for a purple at any chance that they can get, or even greedy for a side grade or a downgrade blue. It happens very often where someone will have a great blue in an item slot, and without understanding the difference in itemization, they'll just need on an item which is worse than the current one that they have just because it's purple, and taking it away from somebody who potentially needs it extremely bad. This is why Master Looter is a very important thing, and it's even more frustrating when you try to explain to them that clearly you don't need this item, but they feel entitled to it anyway, especially if they rolled for it and won the item, but they clearly don't need it, and the raid leader gives it to somebody who actually does need it, and then they go on an all-out tantrum because they didn't get the item. Next up, we've got people who hold the flag in Warsong Gulch, holding up the BG and griefing everyone in it. In Classic WoW, there's no time limit in Warsong like there is in the modern expansions, to avoid this exact phenomenon. Eternal Warsongs. You thought AV was the only battleground that can last an indefinite amount of time? Warsong Gulch is the griefer's paradise. So you will experience this if you PvP a lot. You will one day be in a Warsong where your team is losing real bad, and the enemy team, if they feel like being jerks, could just hold on to your flag for hours while camping your graveyard. There's also ways to jump up above the walls of the Alliance and Horde base, which puts you in a spot that's incredibly hard to wall jump up to, or even if you do try to get up there, they'll just kill you as you attempt to wall jump up, giving them the ability to drag out the match endlessly if they really want to. This is a relatively common troll in Warsong and Vanilla, and you'll probably end up seeing it at some point. My advice, just leave the BG immediately and get your deserter tag counting down instead of wasting your time in there. Alright, now these guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys have encountered in your leveling process from 1 to 60. If you're running skinning, then you know that you have to loot the beast that you kill before you can actually skin the leather. This introduces a little bit of a frustrating scenario that I see people complaining about on the WoW forums and on Reddit constantly. This is people who are killing beasts and are not looting them, stopping you from coming in and trying to get the leather. Now I know in this scenario it's their kill and you're not entitled to that leather whatsoever, or their inventory might be full and that's why they're not picking up the loot, but nonetheless I know this is something that a lot of you guys can relate to. I personally had an issue with this running Blackrock Depths prison runs and arena runs, where while we were doing the XP farm we were killing those red hounds all over the place in the prison, and people in my group were just not looting any of them. I was trying to get the rugged and thick leather, but I couldn't skin half of the wolves. So some of you guys might not like this one specifically because of what I mentioned earlier, but nonetheless, we're gonna put this one on the list because it's a very common complaint from a lot of you guys. Loot the beast that you kill, guys, come on. Okay, so this one I have to admit I'm absolutely guilty of, especially being a hunter. We're talking about mob tagging. So somebody who tags your mob that you're clearly about to hit before you can hit it, and taking it from you. Now there's a couple classes that get the worst end of the stick on this. I'm talking about my warriors, my warlocks, and my paladins. So as a paladin, you don't have a really long range ability at all. You have to walk up pretty much melee range, or at least judgment range, before you can actually tag the mob. And right before you hit it and you're about to claim it for yourself, a hunter just comes in and arcane shots it, and then it's his mob. You might walk over to another one and he'll just do the same thing and get both of them on his pet. Same thing with a warrior. He might be charging over to a mob, and before his auto attack triggers or before he finishes the entire charge length, a hunter or a mage are gonna blast it and get it onto them. And then for warlocks, pretty simple, they put their dots on something, but before the dot actually ticks, someone tags it. Now this is surely something a lot of you guys are very frustrated with, and trust me, it never gets better in any expansion until they made tags not character specific and everyone can just kill things together. So in any legacy version of the game, this is just something you're gonna have to deal with. And if I stole your mobs, sorry. So this next one is very similar to the last. We're talking about people who steal your chest. So you might be in Westfall, let's say for example, and there's a little gnoll camp with maybe 4 or 5 different guys. You work your butt off to clear every single one of them, and let's say you're on the last mob and you're about to finish him and get access to that sweet bounty. Lo and behold, right before you kill the last gnoll, some rogue just pops out of stealth, or some guy just comes charging over, swooping in, and takes your chest. You did all the heavy lifting, all the hard work, and your reward was just taken from you. Now, some people would say it's bad etiquette, and other people would say that it's just the nature of the game. Every man for himself, we're all trying to level, we all need the gold. But regardless of what your opinion is, it's still a little bit of a jerk move, even if I guess it's pretty fair game. This next one is just bad etiquette. People who use health pots in duels. Dueling is a massive part of Classic WoW, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have memories of all the top PvPers on your server hanging outside of Ironforge dueling in the good old days. It's a big part of the vanilla experience, although in my experience lately on private servers it hasn't been as prevalent as it was back in original vanilla, where the mountain ledge outside of the Ironforge gate was always filled with the most skilled players on your server. It was kind of like the cool kids club. It's an unspoken rule that every vanilla player knows. You don't pop health pots in a duel. Even if you and your opponent are both one hit from death, and it seems so tempting to just pop the pot and win the duel, you don't do it. You will be viewed as a snake for the rest of your life. Engineering items are more accepted, it kind of depends on who you ask, but popping potions is strictly prohibited under Rule 1.12-C16. Okay, so next jerk on the list, people who complain in pugs. I mean, I get it. If the pug is super crappy, I get it. But honestly, if it's that bad, just leave or stick it out and shut up. But when a group is pretty bad or quite good even, and you have one guy who at the first sign of a mistake or a slight challenge acts like a little pissant, bringing down the entire morale of the group, and specifically making the leader feel bad, because when you lead a group, it falls on you. It falls on your shoulders, whatever happens in that group. It sucks to feel like you're running an inefficient run, but complaining literally helps no one, and it makes things worse if anything. Morale is incredibly important in a team environment. Complaining and trash talking in a group just causes animosity and creates a snowball effect that can make things even worse. I get it. When I was younger, I was super bad at this and I used to complain all the time. But playing competitive team games taught me to sort of reel it in a little bit, and the results have been significantly visible. When things go bad, you want to be the guy bringing people up and setting a positive tone, bringing people together. The leader of the group feels guilty when things go bad, and if you respond with positivity and say something like, guys, it's okay, we got it this time, just focus up, that goes an extremely long way and generally helps performance going forward. I can't put enough emphasis on this. If you want to complain, do it in Discord, in a private chat, or in your guild chat with people who aren't in the group. But keep the actual group chat positive and try to be productive. You'll end up saving your own time in the process and most likely ameliorating things within that group rather than starting a downward spiral of finger pointing and player tilting. So this next one is more of a group thing, and it's pretty big. Honestly, we don't know how much of a relevant factor it's going to be, since there's going to be cross-realm BGs in vanilla confirmed by Blizzard, but we don't know how big the BG groups are going to be, how many servers are going to be included in each BG group, and it still might be a factor. So here we got Q dodgers, the scum of pre-mating in Classic WoW. These pre-mades will roll level 1s to spy on enemy teams in order to dodge their BG Q, so they only face uncompetitive non-pre-mades or lesser skilled pre-mades. This is cowardice at its best, and it affects the PvP honor ladder, since the Q dodgers are able to farm honor quicker against cruddier teams. So they're going into quick BG wins over and over, and the other teams are taking Qs against stronger pre-mades. This next one is a vanilla classic. I've seen it less and less in later expansions, but for some reason it always seems to re-emerge in a big way in the classic raiding ecosystem. We've got the Tyrant Raid Leader. Satire is generally based in reality, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen the kind of spoof parody videos about raging tyrant raid leaders from old school WoW. The Onyxia wipe viral video is probably the most obvious example. Generally, it's a relatively young kid who's leading these raids, early 20s max, mixed with maybe a little bit of a Napoleon complex, taking out his real life frustrations and insecurities out in the raid comms. I hope you don't get caught in one of these situations in a raid guild. It's unbearable in certain cases, and it's kind of similar to people who complain in pugs. It generally doesn't produce results. All of the best guilds tend to have a very calm, cohesive, camaraderie type culture within their voice comms. which allows them to thrive in difficult situations. While having a little petulant child as your raid leader who's just yelling and going crazy all the time can make things go worse and can make people leave and having to recruit over and over. Not really much else to be said. Tyrant raid leaders are the worst. Next up, we've got World PvP Griefers. I personally find this kind of stuff more funny than I get annoyed by it, but I know most of you guys out there absolutely hate this stuff, so I'll mention it. Level 60s who stay in Red Ridge all day ganking level 20s. On EU servers, there's always an undead mage or undead rogue, probably Russian, sitting there all day griefing lobbies. I actually heard a story from the old days of Blizzard banning somebody who would just camp low levels all day in Red Ridge. Not sure how I feel about someone actually getting banned for that, but you know, it is what it is. Also, I can add people who kill flight path NPCs, but again, I find that stuff more funny than I care about it. But it's still a jerk move, I guess, so I'll add it in. Okay, now I left this one for the last spot, and I think rightfully so. They say save the best for last. And a lot of you probably forgot about the nature of these annoying leeches, or at least the magnitude of it within a classic context. We've got gold beggars. Gold beggars aren't a factor in the newer versions of the game, because gold is pretty much irrelevant. But in classic, gold is, like everything else, scarce. Stormwind specifically is where this situation is the worst. Filthy leeches will harass you for gold donations in the city center, non-stop. Sometimes they're sneaky too. You'll just get a random little sneaky whisper like, "Hey mate." What? "Oh, how's it going, mate? Oh, how's life, mate? How's your mom, mate?" "Good." "So, mate, go on any adventures lately, mate?" "Yeah, just killed Onyxia. It was pretty sweet." "Oh, wow, mate, that's so good. Can I have gold for a mount, please?" Just turn around and book it. Don't do it. Don't give them gold. In fact, a lot of the time you have people with high-level characters who will make low-level alts specifically just to beg for gold instead of gold farming. It's a gold-making strategy for some people. They just pretend to be a new player who needs gold for skills or a mount and just beg for gold all day in Stormwind. Alright boys, that's it for this one. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this one. We've all had encounters with these kind of jerks in the game before, right? Like I said in the intro though, it's all part of the ecosystem. It's human nature. It's another human element that makes the game bigger than just a game. It's an experience. So that's the video. If you feel like I missed a big one on this video, add it in the comment section. I read all of the comments and I want to hear your anecdotes, boys. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill, soldiers. I hope you liked it. And with that, have a good one. I'm out. Peace.
Okay, welcome back to the no bullshit channel.
To get this jet.
When we started out, it was, I don't really know what how the initial relationship was established, but because I came on as a hired hand at the beginning, but I think the idea was to make sure that whatever we did in a military setting with a military venue, that we had as much credibility as possible. We approached them essentially to initiate a relationship. They jumped at the opportunity. We ate it up, and I think what it's done in the long run is done exactly what it set out to do. Is we could consult with them to make sure that we were doing things right, and ultimately as respectfully as possible. In my conversations with our liaison, and subsequently experienced firsthand a fair amount of respect from the Air Force itself in how we were portraying it. We took what they advised and assimilated it into our product, and we've got nothing but compliments from the Air Force itself, from every cadet right on up to every four-star, how it looked, how it represented the Air Force, and ultimately how it lightened certain perceptions, certainly in my portrayal of a colonel and now general.
It was a matter of choices and asking MGM to trust me and my instincts about which way to go with the character, because there's no way I could do what Kurt Russell did if you all remember the movie, life's too short to be that stoic and serious. Throughout the course of a series, not only that, I cannot make my hair do what his does.
My portrayal of a colonel and now general.
It was a matter of choices and asking MGM to trust me and my instincts about which way to go with the character, because there was no way I could do what Kurt Russell did. If you all remember the movie, life's too short to be that stoic and serious. Throughout the course of a series, not only that, I cannot make my hair do what his does.
Because I had a certain idea that was fairly loosely structured, but it was important that I get some validation for how I was going to portray a military officer. So I got a nice little pat on the back from a couple of the 4-star generals, chiefs of staff, General Ryan and General Jumper.
Go in. General, I'd like to talk to you about this mission upon which we are about to embark.
It seems getting ridiculous, doesn't it?
Have you met General Ryan?
Hello, Colonel.
The General Ryan, Chief of Staff?
That's right. Shouldn't there have been a memo or something?
The scene we had together was essentially me coming in and kind of complaining about some aspect of some operation. But the real deal was in the office. During the scene, of course, I make a fool of myself as O'Neill. Between the takes of the scene, I just had to ask the real guy if my portrayal of Colonel O'Neill was remotely credible.
I cornered Ryan, and asked him if he had colonels that actually behaved and the way I did. How was my portrayal going, and was he, was it a little shaky, or was I being disrespectful? And he stopped me in mid-sentence and just said, "Son," which I thought was rather condescending. He said, "Yes, we've got colonels like you, and worse."
In fact, both generals that I met, that I worked with on Stargate, said the same thing. Said, "You're doing what we all want to do, but really can't."
Got your hands full with that one, eh, George?
I was invited by the Air Force to come to Washington, D.C. and receive an award for my representation and my portrayal, and ultimately the show's contributions. And they said enlistment was up because of the show, and I found that a little hard to believe. The gala that evening, the awards ceremony, was the culmination of the week's activities. Black tie event, the only black tie event that the Air Force has all year long, in this grand ballroom of the hotel. And it was to present and recognize the real heroes. I mean, guys that have, been through wars or made contributions technologically. Thank God they had things in perspective enough to present my award before dinner. Because after dinner, the real guys got their awards. In the middle of the dinner, there was a fire alarm. Mind you, this is a black tie event, so we all exited a hot, muggy night in Washington, and that alone was quite a sight to see. All the ribbons and bows, photo ops, plenty. That was great. That part was really fun.
What you don't see and what doesn't come through on the television is the humanity of these actors and actresses that appear on. And what we have here in the form of Richard Dean Anderson, MacGyver, Colonel Jack O'Neill, is a truly fantastic American who cares deeply about our country, our people in uniform, and our United States Air Force.
got an eagle, and then a medallion from General Jumper that showing their appreciation for my contributions and the show's contributions. And then as an added bonus, General Jumper presented me with General Stars. I became an honorary Brigadier General.
If you're watching closely, Richard has been actually the beneficiary of a recent promotion, which I think is quite appropriate for a guy who saves the planet every week. Absolutely. So what we have for you is a set of stars, Richard. You are an honorary Brigadier General of the United States Air Force.
I knew I had been humbled in my tracks. I knew I had been paid a great compliment, and I was never so honored in my life. My father, who passed away about a year and a half ago, I know, God bless him, how proud he would have been of me that evening. Made it all really worth it. I got a tour of the Pentagon, and I'd never been there before. I'd been to Washington several times, but I'd never really examined any part of Washington, D.C. other than the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. But I went to the Pentagon and was given, I guess, a fairly typical tour. Got in a little golf cart because there's 17 miles of hallways there. There was a seaman that drove us around, and he was just a chatterbox of information. Shaved, clean, bald, shiny head, and just all proper. Tried to loosen him up a little bit by asking some of the questions that you don't normally ask. Things like, why do you have to wear that collar? And are you happy with your uniform? You know, why is that owl on top of the kiosk? But I was just duly impressed by the venue itself, just the bustle of activity. And then upon reflection and through our tour guide, really getting a perspective on what transpires behind those doors. Hallowed as they may be, it's serious stuff. I visited all the memorials that were there and all the rooms of the Medal of Honor winners, and certainly the new chapel they have there where the 9/11 plane came through. And it was an awesomely humbling experience. I was ushered into the office of General Tom Mosley, or Buzz, as he likes to be called. Within a minute, he came out and greeted me, very boisterous, you know, heavy handshake kind of guy, full of energy. He showed me his office. He's got a collection of these commemorative type coins, and just footballs and memorabilia and just all kinds of pictures all over the place. And I love hearing basically war stories or life stories about the military in particular. And I let him know that, so that was like opening up the gates. The tone in General Mosley's office was such that, you know, very serious about the business at hand and took care of business, but was gracious enough or had things in perspective enough to make sure that he, you know, brought me in and met
Safe travel.
MacGyver. I had the opportunity to go to Walter Reed Hospital and visit some of the troops that had come back from Iraq, injured troops. And there's nothing more humbling than that experience. My being there, it was openly expressed, it was so appreciated that it makes you a little misty when you, in retrospect, talked about 10 or 12 guys, spent as much time as I possibly could there. Guys with no limbs, paralyzed, unable to speak, hoses coming out of their necks. I mean, just very embattled human beings. They were all just, regardless of the fact that I was a part of a show that represented a part of the armed forces, the fact that a human being from the outside came in to spend some time, and I don't know, it's one of those experiences where it's virtually impossible to relate what kind of an experience it becomes to really be face-to-face and in the same room and communicating with guys that have seen frontline action. But it was so appreciated by every man and woman that I met. That's what made me feel the best about that whole experience. notwithstanding the great honor of receiving the awards and the recognition,
Eat something?
the visit to Walter Reed was the highlight. Definitely want to go back. I have not been more honored by any experience in my business or in my life. Mrs. Jumper had said,
See you later.
you know, the last person to get this was Jimmy Stewart in 1987. And you want to throw me in with that crowd of one? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great to meet you.
Oh, in answer to the question about the owl on top of the kiosk, when it was first built, they had pigeons crapping all over the top of this building. And apparently the daughter of one of the generals at the time, I believe, was a little 9-year-old kid who just said, well, Daddy, aren't pigeons afraid of owls? They all recognized that that was quite possibly the solution, as it turned out to be. So after spending Lord knows how many tax dollars to fix the problem, a little $16 statuette saved the day.
Can I help you? Have a good one.
Are you sure you're okay? I am absolutely fine. There is nothing Kruvitz with me. What? You just said there's nothing Kruvitz with you. I did not. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. Didn't. Did. Didn't. Did. Kruvitz, what is that? I don't know. All right. What the hell is going on with me? What do you mean? Well, apparently I've lost the philatus to speak properly. That wasn't a joke. I didn't do that on purpose.
Nu ani anquietas.
What?
Nu ani anquietas. Hic quavi Deum.
Tucker, are you reading this? Oh, you tell me. Well, I don't know. I haven't even been able to associate sounds to the symbols. Do you know what this means? No. And I'm just looking at it, and the words pop right into my front. Does anybody think this is odd?
What about negotiating?
Oh, for crying out loud, that's Durantis.
What? You just said Durantis. Did not. Did too. Durantis, what is that? Does this mean anything to you?
Nope.
Could you at least look at it?
Daniel, I don't speak ancient. Yet. And when I do, eventually, you know I'll never understand it.
You have to try.
Look, last time things just popped into my front.
Front his head.
All right, now see, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, maybe if you stop working on the stupid
Hey,
question.
hey, hey! I'd like to at least finish that while I can.
I thought you were supposed to...
13 across, you wrote Teonas.
Yeah? So? What's it mean?
I don't know, you tell me. 8 down, you wrote Prakarush.
What's 8 down?
Label. If there's empty spaces, I think the answer is supposed to be identification. 13 across is sphere. Chuck, this is it.
Now, see, I assume we still speak the same language, mostly.
Sphere, planet, label, name.
Following still you, not.
Proclarouche Teonas. I think you wrote the name of the planet where we'll find the lost city in the crossword. Bit of a jump.
Get addressed again, I stay.
Jack, what are you doing? At.
What?
At. Good? At. At is at? You can stop. At. Don't ask me what it means, I don't know. I think I do.
Well,
What's this?
be good.
Well?
You just told us to be quiet.
No, when I look at this, I think... Shh.
How you feeling, sir?
A bit nervous. A little frantic.
Destinations for your next mission. SG units 1 and 2 will operate concurrent.
You know, I'm kind of partial to P3575. If you don't mind taking P38-577.
No, I'll take 577.
I'm not married to it.
No,
I want to be fair about this. How about we flip it?
How about you go where I tell? Now what?
If Jackson's still around, he'll know what the message means.
What if the aliens got him?
Well, they could be blowing their noses right now.
They could be planning an attack.
Come on, Samuels, let me be the cynic around here, huh? Captain.
Don't worry, Colonel. I won't let you down.
Good. I was gonna say ladies first.
You know, you really will like me when you get to know me.
Oh, I adore you already, Captain.
Warriors through for some time to make sure of your destruction. And for a surprise, huh? Your iris will be closed. Crushed.
Surprise.
That's the result of the process our molecules undergo during the millisecond required for the Constitution.
Oh, here we go. Another science. General, please.
Theoretical astrophysicist.
Which means...
Means she's smarter than you are, Colonel.
Well, you can...
Yo guys, Punk got another video. So I'm just now getting to the end of my leveling journey in Classic. I'm currently level 52, and during this process I've collected tons of items.
Let me explain. So now I want you guys to think about World of Warcraft.
It's a world of fantasy and fun.
World of Warcraft once had over 12 million active players around the world. Yet as time has gone on, that number has dramatically dropped. Now, some say that that's because people, they just got bored of the game. It's been a long time. But others have said that it's because of how Blizzard dramatically changed Warcraft's game formula. But one thing is certain, when Classic WoW was released back in August, it was a tremendous success for the company, bringing tons of players back to the game and making Blizzard a lot of that bling bling, if you know what I'm saying. And now, the bottom line is, because of Classic WoW's success, Blizzard is starting to make small Classic WoW-esque changes to the modern game, and that makes Mr. Mookluck a happy boy. What? Hey guys, my name is Nixie. I'm the guy who is bad at every game. And welcome back to another exciting video where we are going to talk about World of Warcraft, the current state of the game, and the future that the game is heading in, and stuff. Let's jump into it, shall we? It's been a pretty bumpy year for Blizzard. I mean, let's be honest, from dealing with layoffs in the company to having Battle for Azeroth labeled by many in the community as the, quote, worst World of Warcraft expansion ever, unquote, yikes. And if that wasn't bad enough, you had this constant division and argument occurring within what remained of World of Warcraft's community, the modern day WoW fans versus the classic WoW fans. Which version of the game is better? The current 2019 game with its quality of life changes and all of its polish? Or the gritty, no-nonsense, pain-in-the-ass version of the game that was Classic WoW? Well, we had to wait until August to figure that out, but until that time came, we just had to listen to a whole lot of this.
Alright, listen here, you little shit. First and foremost, Vanilla WoW had the largest population growth in all of WoW's history. And you know why? Because the game wasn't catered to complete retards like you who are too lazy.
And Classic WoW did finally arrive in late August, and well, it was a big success. Massive queue times, Blizzard having to continuously make more servers to fill the players' demands, Warcraft being on top of Twitch.tv again. The release of this 2004 version of World of Warcraft has catapulted Blizzard Entertainment straight to the top. And guess what? The game only continued to grow as the weeks rolled on. And whether you're a big fan of Battle for Azeroth or you're just a massive Classic WoW only player, it's a good time to be a Warcraft fan. But what's interesting is that recently Blizzard has released the latest Battle for Azeroth patch, and what's arrived with the update is, well, kinda cool. First and foremost, we have the release of the updated Worgen and Goblin models, and that's something that the player base has been asking for since Warlords of Draenor when all the other character models were updated. Except for the pandas, but nobody cares about pandas because it's pandas. And another thing that we are finally getting is this damned B mount. Now personally, I really don't care about the B mount, but the player base has been begging for this stupid B mount since the beginning of Battle for Azeroth. Now why exactly does everybody and their mum want to ride around on a goddamn bee? I don't know, but people like bees apparently. Hit that like button down below if you're a pretty cool guy that likes bees. Some other features include the final chapters of the war campaign and also an expansion of the Recruit a Friend system, bringing new features to the game that make it easier to recruit friends and play with them in Battle for Azeroth. But we're not exactly here to talk about all that. I mean, that's fine. But what we're really here to discuss is what else arrived with the latest patch. Specifically, the things that demonstrate just how much Classic WoW is having an effect on the modern game. First, let's talk about this new limited time raid that is coming to World of Warcraft, the Memories of Azeroth raid. Now this is the first thing that I want to talk about, but the second thing, that's the big one, but let's talk about this first. Now, if it wasn't obvious that Blizzard is on a big nostalgia-focused campaign right now with World of Warcraft, then you've just been living under a rock, my friend. Since even before Classic WoW's release, the company has been pushing this concept of the good old days into the eyes of the player base and the consumers, and this is only a continuation of that. Blizzard needs money, fellas. I mean, let's be real.
I like the blood of children.
Now, Blizzard already has put time walking into World of Warcraft, and we've had some events here and there that have taken us back to doing some old Classic WoW content, like the Molten Core Anniversary Raid. but we're seeing even more nostalgia thrown into the modern game, as this raid is going to take players back to the times of Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, and Cataclysm. Now, for each time period in WoW's history, players will fight 3 iconic bosses, slay them, claim their loot, and if they're successful, they will earn a mount called the Obsidian Worldbreaker, which is a mount whose model is inspired by Deathwing. Now, this specific raid update probably isn't going to bring too many people back into World of Warcraft paying a subscription and playing Battle for Azeroth, but it's clearly meant to entice those players who played World of Warcraft during those time periods. It's an attempt to target that audience, bring them into the modern game, and then by extension, maybe funnel them into classic World of Warcraft. Now, this might be a little bit of a stretch of logic, but hear me out. If someone were to resub and come back to try WoW again in this patch, they naturally would try out this piece of new content. Now, after doing so, they would either really enjoy it and stick to BFA, or maybe they would get all nostalgic over the past and roll their hand at classic WoW instead. Either way, Blizzard has hooked a new player and they will get their $15 a month. Blizzard knows that nostalgia is currently hot in the market for them as a company, and so incorporating more nostalgic elements into modern WoW based on the success of classic WoW and its nostalgia factor, I feel it's not so far-fetched of an idea. It's actually a nice business strategy. It's going to bring in players, it will make them money, they want to bring in new customers, and they know that the right way to do that is to present to people old Blizzard, as the internet posters would say. The kind of old-school Blizzard entertainment content that made the company so successful in the first place. And that leads me to the final major feature that came out with this patch, and that is Old Alterac Valley. Now, if there's one way to clearly state, hey, let's bring some classic into the modern game, well, this is it.
Give me a good old rub.
It's a direct import of one of Classic WoW's most iconic battlegrounds into Battle for Azeroth. I mean, come on, people. It's clear that Blizzard wants the BFA players to experience some of that classic love as well, because, guys, if a player did get bored of BFA, heaven forbid, and they've experienced some classic-esque content, then maybe they'll be inclined to go check out Classic WoW, and Blizzard, by extension, is going to keep their $15 a month. And it's really as simple as that. Dingle flash, boom! I don't know why I just did that. Now, for those of you that have never done Classic Alterac Valley and you've only done Modern Alterac Valley and you hate it, understand that the Classic version is nothing like the Modern version. It's a game of strategy, collecting resources, summoning NPCs to help you claim ground, and it could take days to complete just one match. Yeah, you heard that right. It's not like the current version of the map where it's just a race to the enemy boss, you quickly DPS him down and that's it. This is a whole new ballgame.
Times change.
Personally, I think it's great to see that Blizzard is taking some small cues from Classic WoW's success, and I think we're going to see more as time goes on. I mean, Classic WoW only just came out. From bringing back more nostalgic raids from World of Warcraft's history, to quite literally adding a Classic WoW battleground to the modern game, I think Classic WoW's momentum is going to have more of an effect on Battle for Azeroth and beyond than people realize, including me. Now, this might be wishful thinking, but it's even possible that Blizzard might be inspired by Classic to maybe overhaul the entire level up process for the modern game, making it more interactive, immersive, and roleplay-ish once again. But well, that's a video and a discussion of ideas for another time, so if you do want to stay tuned for that video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to receive notifications on when I upload.
Oh, okay. Here I go.
To say that I'm excited for World of Warcraft and its future, that would be an understatement, guys. And I'm not just talking about Classic WoW either, I'm talking about BFA too. You know, we've seen how the community has evolved over the past year or so. We've seen how Blizzard has evolved as a company. And well, I mean, I'm just eager to see what fate has in store for us. Maybe Classic WoW really will kill the modern game, as some say, or maybe it will just die out in less than a year. But either way, I think that the recent release of it has taught the gaming industry a lot of very valuable lessons about challenge, a sense of community, and a sense of achievement when playing an MMORPG. So maybe, if Classic WoW continues to be a great success, we will see it change the face of MMORPGs in the future entirely. But I guess we're gonna have to wait to find out. Again, my name is Nixium, everybody. If you liked the video, give it a like, sub if you want, share your thoughts down in the comments section below, and if you would like to follow me on social media or learn how this video was made, check down in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all with my next project.
Hi guys, I'm EVM and welcome to a very sunny Yorkshire. Brilliant start to the day. Anyway, this is the MG full electric EZS, and I've had more messages from people about
What's
this
on your
than
mind?
any other car on my entire series on YouTube. I think people are wanting to know, at the price this is at, is it cheap for a reason, or is it just incredible value? I'm about to find out. Okay, let's have a look around the outside of this thing. It's got quite the grille. It's got a huge mouth at the front of the car. Obviously, it's another SUV because that's all manufacturers seem to be producing these days. I have to say, it looks slightly better in the flesh than it.
it's Ivan from the EV Stock channel here. In today's episode, we'll be looking at whether the Model Y could be released as soon as Q1 or Q2 in 2020, based on some major hints that Elon dropped during the annual shareholder meeting and the 2019 Q2 earnings call. Now, before I begin, this video is an updated episode that was previously released about a month ago. The reason for the re-upload is to fix the sound quality, as requested by a few people. And while re-recording, I added some new content in the second half of the episode, based on recent news regarding the Model Y. So feel free to skip ahead if you've seen the previous one. Anyways, let's just get into it. As usual, all content in this video is our opinion only, and we do not recommend buying or selling any financial instruments. During the 2019 annual shareholder meeting, Elon Musk stated that the target for volume Model Y production will be around fall of 2020. But as he makes this prediction, check out the reaction of the Tesla staff sitting in the front row.
We expect to hit volume production towards the end of next year. Internally, we're aiming for sooner than that, but we want to have some margin on that timing.
Now, I could be easily reading way too much into this, but the way these guys reacted leads me to think something could be up. So I followed the breadcrumbs to see where they lead, and got two more major clues during the 2019 Q2 earnings call when Elon stated the following.
And we expect to be free cash flow positive in future quarters, with the possible temporary exceptions around the launch and ramp of new products.
Okay, so they don't expect to be free cash flow positive during the launch and ramp of a new product. So how does this shed any light on when we expect to see Model Y production? Well, soon after, Tony Sacconaghi from Bernstein asked Elon about demand with respect to Q3 and beyond, to which Elon responded, in Q3 of 2019, demand will exceed Q2, which was a record-breaking quarter for deliveries at 95,200, and if production can increase, which it has for every quarter since Model 3 came into production, then we can see Tesla break a new record for deliveries in Q3. And based on the numbers so far available through July and August, Tesla is currently ahead in deliveries, and the leaked email from Elon has stated that Q3 could be the first quarter in which Tesla breaks 100,000 deliveries. Q4 of 2019, Elon states that there will again be very strong demand and to expect quarter-over-quarter improvements, meaning we should expect to see more than 100,000 deliveries. Then we get a really big hint in that Elon states that Q1 of 2020 will be tough, and I take it that tough means a large Q1 loss. But wait a second, remember what Elon said at the end of the conference call, in which they expect to be free cash flow positive in every quarter unless they're launching or ramping a new product? If Q1 is going to be tough, does that mean that Model Y is going to be launched in Q1 of 2020? Maybe. Elon then mentions that Q2 of 2020 will be tough, but better than Q1. So the way I see it, during Q2, the Model Y really starts to ramp along with the Shanghai Gigafactory, and Tesla makes a loss, but much smaller than that of Q1. Elon then mentions that Q3 and Q4 will be incredible. What do I think Elon means by incredible? Potentially record-breaking profits in Q3 of 2020 as a result of Model Y and Model 3 selling in large volumes, along with the Shanghai Gigafactory potentially producing and selling over 5,000 Model 3s per week in China and across Asia. So in this case, I think Elon is giving us all a conservative estimate on when Model Y will be released, just not to put any unnecessary pressure and media attention to Model Y production if there are any unseen issues that arise. Based on what I'm seeing and hearing, as long as they don't hit any type of production setbacks, I think Tesla could just surprise the market and release the Model Y late in Q1 of 2020, 6 to 9 months ahead of schedule. And in my opinion, they may just be able to do this, as they have learned many hard lessons from initial Model 3 production issues and will not be making the same mistakes again. Not to mention that 75% of the parts used in the Model 3 are the same that will be used in Model Y production. So therefore they won't be adding many new complexities, unlike when they released the Model S and X. So let's see what happens, and I hope we get more clues during the Q3 conference call. Finally, let's have a look at the size of the SUV market in the US. Elon did mention that the SUV market was about 2.5 times bigger than the sedan market, And that looks about right when looking at the top 20 selling vehicles in the United States during 2018, in which half the cars on that list were SUVs. And here we can see how Tesla's planning on attacking all three segments, with the Model 3, Model Y, and the pickup truck. Interestingly, the top 3 selling vehicles are pickup trucks, the next 3 best selling vehicles are SUVs, followed by the next 3 selling sedans. Here we can see the top selling SUVs, with yearly and weekly average sales. The Toyota RAV4 takes top spot, selling an impressive 8,215 cars on average per week. So how would the Model Y compare? In our opinion, the best way to answer this question is to see how the Model 3 compares in production and deliveries. During Q2 of 2019, Tesla produced the Model 3 at an average rate of 5,579 cars per week. And if they do the same with Model Y, then that would allow them to rank 5th, provided they sell every one of those vehicles. When it comes to sales, Tesla delivered on average 3,478 Model 3s into the US market during the same Q2 of 2019. But remember, Tesla was also supplying Model 3s all over the world. If we want to get an idea of how many vehicles could be sold into the US market, then we would need to have a look at Q4 of 2018, when Tesla was predominantly just selling Model 3s to the US market, and before they started international deliveries. During that quarter, Tesla averaged 4,742 weekly Model 3 deliveries, and if Tesla did the same with the Model Y, then that would rank the Model Y in 7th place on this list. So I guess, if the Model Y sells at the same pace that the Model 3 did, then they would easily be in the top 10 selling SUVs in the United States. And remember this, once the Model Y starts selling, all these other models on this list will start to lose market share. However, when Elon Musk was asked about potential Model Y sales volume, he stated that he expects that the Model Y will sell more than the Model 3, the Model X, and the Model S combined. So if you believe Elon, there's a lot of upside for the Model Y, with the SUV market being much bigger than the sedan market in the United States. And looking at global sales numbers, we can see that the SUV markets around the world have been growing. So in our opinion, Elon could just be right. So that's all for today, and please consider joining our community via Patreon if you want to support us and help us grow. Also, thank you for your email, Stefan. That was much appreciated. And Thomas, your idea is a good one, and we are happy to make an episode on your idea going forward. As usual, thank you to all our Patreons for making these episodes possible. So till next time, see you guys soon.
On September 28th of 2019, hundreds of thousands of people eagerly watched and listened as Elon Musk gave his 4th annual presentation on SpaceX's mission to colonize the planet Mars. These events have encountered massive growth in support and popularity over the years, as new rocket engineering milestones were achieved and transparently shared by this young but successfully ambitious company. But this was to be expected, since the inception of SpaceX in 2002, Elon's first main objective for his rocket company was to inspire the masses to become pioneers of other worlds.
Well, I just think that a future where humanity's space civilization after exploring the stars is an incredibly exciting future.
To do that seemed simple enough. All Elon thought he had to do was put a greenhouse on Mars using a Russian-made rocket. But he wasn't taken seriously by those he wished to purchase the rocket from. And so he taught himself rocket science and began defining much smaller goals that would hopefully one day eventually lead to his ultimate dream of colonizing Mars.
We have liftoff. SpaceX Falcon 1 launch vehicle. Falcon has cleared the tower.
And now, almost 2 decades later, SpaceX is at the forefront of space technology innovation, with their own fleet of reusable rockets and capsules, surpassing even those long-standing agencies that once ushered in the genesis of space exploration. But with each Mars presentation Elon gives, a new kind of rocket grows. In the years prior, this rocket was just a concept only seen on computer renderings, leaving the audience longing for an exciting future that hadn't yet begun to take on a physical form. However, over the past several months, SpaceX checked off another achievement as they built and successfully flew their first Mars rocket prototype. And now, that momentum has escalated. SpaceX is just weeks away from launching its next test vehicle that will ultimately set the stage for the journey to Mars. If there has only been one kind of consistency associated with Elon's Mars rocket, it is consistent inconsistency. Since the very first mock-up of SpaceX's Mars transport vehicle, unyielding changes have plagued the design process.
This is to give you a sense of size. It's quite big.
But this is rocket science. These powerful vehicles are known for pushing the boundaries between new technology and future technology. And they also take a long time to build. So it's a common issue for parts of a rocket to become outdated before the vehicle is complete, causing new and improved changes to be implemented into the design. SpaceX's development of a Mars rocket began with the design of a new engine. In 2012, the private company started to work on an engine that, when clustered with more of the same engines, could be powerful enough to lift and accelerate an extremely large launch vehicle out of Earth's gravity well and toward the red planet. They called this new breed of engine Raptor, a staged combustion methane-fueled rocket engine. It would later become the first of its kind to take to the skies. But in its earlier days, SpaceX named their first large vehicle concept the MCT, short for the Mars Colonial Transporter. And then in 2016, Musk decided that the new designs to his Mars transporter allowed it to go even further than the Earth's neighboring planet. So at the 67th International Astronautical Congress Conference, Elon presented his first official design for a Mars rocket that, at 12 meters in diameter, was much larger than what he previously had in mind, and he called it the Interplanetary Transport System. The ITS was a carbon fiber two-stage super heavy lift rocket that stood at 122 meters tall and could place 550 tons in a low Earth orbit. It included a reusable booster that contained 42 sea-level Raptor engines that together produced 128 meganewtons of thrust, and a reusable second-stage interplanetary spaceship for passengers, or the ITS tanker for in-orbit refueling, each containing 6 vacuum and 3 sea-level Raptor engines.
And the goal is at least 100 passengers per ship, although I think ultimately we'll probably see that number grow to 200 or more.
This is what a launch of the ITS would look like. The fully stacked rocket would use the 42 Raptors at the bottom of its booster to lift the second stage passenger or cargo vehicle into space, when it would then stage separate and return back to its launch mounts. A new second stage tanker full of fuel would be placed on top and launched into space as well. Again, the booster would separate and return to Earth, while the tanker would accelerate to make Earth's orbit and then rendezvous with the passenger or cargo vehicle that was launched first. The tanker would dock and refuel with the passenger ship before returning to Earth, and the passenger ship would make its way to Mars. Once safely on Mars, it would refuel using processed resources from the Martian surface and return to Earth. This strategy, while slightly modified, is still the projected method. The ITS was expected to send cargo to Mars by 2022 and humans 2 years later. But in 2017, at the 68th International Astronautical Congress, Elon announced that SpaceX will not be building the 12-meter diameter rocket, but instead will build a still large and still carbon fiber, but smaller launch vehicle first. And although they hadn't yet found the right name for it, the code name was BFR, short for Big Falcon Rocket. This new 9-meter diameter launch vehicle stood at 118 meters tall, 4 meters shorter than its predecessor, and with 31 Raptor engines in its first stage, it was capable of producing 48 meganewtons of thrust and placing 150 tons in the low Earth orbit, with the second stage now consisting of 6 Raptor engines in total, as well as a new Delta Wing.
And so the Delta Wing at the back, which also includes a split flap for pitch and roll control, allows us to control the pitch angle despite having a wide range of payloads in the nose and a wide range of atmospheric densities.
At the outset of Elon's speech at the conference, he informed the viewers of his confidence in the new design and how the rocket will one day become the all-encompassing future of the SpaceX rocket fleet.
We want to have one system, one booster and ship that replaces Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, and Dragon.
As a fully reusable rocket, the BFR would be cheaper to launch even though it could place more mass into orbit. This would render all other rockets wasteful and therefore obsolete.
It's really crazy that we build these sophisticated rockets and then crash them every time we fly.
He also announced a solution to what is arguably the biggest problem facing BFR's construction: funding.
If we can build a system that makes our own products redundant, then all of the resources, which are quite enormous, are used for Falcon 9 Heavy and Dragon, to one system.
SpaceX could pay for the development of BFR through their existing and future customer launch contracts to place satellites into orbit, the revenue they receive from NASA to put cargo on the International Space Station, future lunar surface mission contracts, and of course selling tickets to Mars. But there was one more money-making tactic Musk had up his sleeve. using BFR like a new and improved airline for point-to-point transportation around the globe. And Elon finished up his 2017 presentation, still confident in his 2022 and 2024 Mars timeline. And he left the audience with his vision of a future Mars colony. By early 2018, the initial development of the first BFR second stage was underway at a new SpaceX facility at the Port of Los Angeles. More than 40 employees at the site were dedicated to the construction of the spaceship, with up to 700 expected. And in August of 2018, the US military, for the first time, recognized the potential for such a rocket to transport equipment around the globe in less time and money than a C-5 aircraft. Just 1 month later, Elon's next Mars presentation took place at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, where it was shown that the designs for BFR had evolved past the delta wing and toward a tri-fin approach. This ship's new aft fins and forward canards behaved as control surfaces during final approach, much like how a skydiver uses his arms and legs to orient his body in free fall. Then upon landing, the 3 rear fins are used as legs. The upper stage ship now contains 7 Raptor engines, and the first stage booster had the same engine model as before with 31 Raptor engines. The big announcement at the presentation was Project Dear Moon, the first planned private passenger circumnavigation around the moon in 2023, led by Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa, who donated an unspecified amount to SpaceX to fund a large portion of their development costs for BFR.
I choose to go to the moon.
Maezawa purchased all the seats for his first lunar trip so he could bring artists with him on the journey. Still, Elon Musk shared another new method to further fund his Mars transport vehicle.
We've got the Starlink global broadband system that we're developing, which will also be a key source of revenue.
Although these Starlink satellites were in production at the time, only 2 early prototypes had been placed into orbit. But being that the initial test was a success, a handful of months later, SpaceX deployed their first 60 satellites into low Earth orbit. In November of 2018, Elon Musk tweeted the new official name for his BFR rocket, Starship and Super Heavy. Starship for the upper stage spaceship, Super Heavy for the booster. And then 1 month later, Musk announced the most significant change to the rocket's design yet, one that would rapidly speed up construction at an unprecedented rate in the months to come. SpaceX had decided to ditch the carbon composite material it had been using to construct the rocket at the Port of LA, and instead switched over to using a stainless steel alloy. And on December 23rd, Musk made his fan base aware of the Starship prototype that was already quietly being built by a water tower company at their Boca Chica site in Texas. This test vehicle was eventually given the name Starhopper by the fan community. It was designed to be a flying test bed for near-future Raptor engine in-flight tests. This would include one hop up to 20 meters and then again to 150 meters while performing controlled landings for both. In March of 2019, the Port of LA site was shut down and all future efforts to build Starship and Super Heavy were to take place at the Boca Chica, Texas site as well as Cocoa, Florida. These 2 separate teams began a friendly competition to see who could build the next bigger and better Starship prototype faster. These orbital vehicles became known as Mark 1 and Mark 2 respectively. A month later, SpaceX completed Starship's first static fire test with a single Raptor engine. On July 25th, Starhopper successfully completed the 20-meter hop test. And then in August, it hopped to 150 meters. With the completion of its final flight, Starhopper is being converted into a Raptor engine test stand. Around this same time, SpaceX began constructing the pieces for the Super Heavy booster. And on August 28th, Elon tweeted that the future generations of Starship and Super Heavy could become twice the size and diameter at 18 meters. Then just this past weekend, on Saturday, September 28, 2019, Elon Musk gave his most recent Starship presentation at SpaceX's Boca Chica shipyard. With his freshly built Starship standing behind him, and alongside SpaceX's very first rocket, the Falcon 1, Elon once again spoke to inspire the masses to rally behind his mission to Mars.
And becoming a spacefaring civilization, being out there among the stars, this is one of the things that I know makes me glad to be alive. I think it makes many people glad to be alive. It's one of the best things.
But for the first time, there were only a couple subtle differences that separated his new Starship model from the previous one. The first noticeable difference was the move from 3 aft fins to 2 aft fins and larger forward fins. This won't change the skydiving re-entry and landing strategy that was already in place. Another difference was the removal of one Raptor engine on the Starship vehicle and separate landing legs that now attach to the base of the rocket. The heat shield on the windward side of Starship is now made of reusable ceramic tiles instead of a methane transpiring surface. The Super Heavy booster went from 31 Raptor engines in 2018 to 37 Raptors in the present. Although Elon did say that they could use less on an as-needed basis, and unlike before, Super Heavy now has 6 legs that look like fins, but really aren't. There were several reasons why SpaceX made the switch from carbon composite to 301 stainless steel in 2018, the first being cost.
It's $130,000 a ton for the carbon fiber, $2,500 a ton for the steel. The steel is about 2% of the cost of the carbon fiber.
Another reason was practicality. Steel is easier to work with and can be used for many things, even on Mars. And finally, when exposed to cryogenic temps from supercooled liquid fuel, this type of stainless steel alloy doesn't get brittle, it gets stronger. Starship and Super Heavy will be used in the future to build and maintain a moon base, colonize Mars, and even venture out into the cosmos. The next small step toward the stars is quickly approaching for SpaceX. Starship Mark 1 will soon soar to 20 kilometers and back within the next month or two. Mark 3 will begin manufacturing in a month and will be completed in about 3 months. The body will consist of one continuous cylindrical steel hull instead of several plated rings stacked on top of each other. Starships Mark 4 and 5 will also be completed within 6 months, and in 2020 the first Starship Super Heavy will make orbit. Over the past 7 years, SpaceX has been designing rocket parts so that one day humans may colonize Mars. That day is quickly approaching. Like those who lived through the space race of the 1960s, the current generations are now experiencing a new period of innovation and enthusiasm for space exploration. But this time we aim to go further than those who went before us. Through dedication and teamwork, big dreams are becoming big realities. And with each new achievement, more eyes that once looked to the stars for solace turn their gaze to Starship.
This episode of Real Engineering is brought to you by Brilliant, a problem-solving website that teaches you to think like an engineer. If you've been on the internet in the past month, you have probably seen a picture of Elon Musk's latest project, a rocket that looks like the brainchild of a H.G. Wells fever dream of the future. It doesn't look like any current generation rocket by any shape or measure. It's shorter and fatter than your typical SpaceX rocket, and most strange of all, it's made of stainless steel, a material that has largely fallen out of use for propellant tanks since the 60s. Steel is strong, but it's pretty heavy, making it unsuitable for flight structures. Reducing the weight of the launch vehicle is an art form in rocket science. Every kilogram matters, and engineers have come up with some innovative ways to reduce weight. WD-40 was originally developed to displace water, which is where its name came from, to protect the metal tanks of the Atlas rockets from rusting, because they weren't painted to save weight. Those Atlas rockets were made of stainless steel. In those days, aluminium alloying material science hadn't quite developed far enough, and the engineers of the Atlas rockets instead opted to use extremely thin stainless steel for their propellant tanks, varying from 2.5mm to about 10mm. These were essentially metal balloons, as they were structurally unstable when unpressurized. In one infamous case on May 11, 1963, an Atlas Agena D lost pressurization on the launch pad, allowing the weight of the upper stage to buckle the thin steel. Pressurization adds strength to pressure vessels, as the pressure provides a restoring force for small deformations. So, if the metal attempts to bend inwards, the internal pressure pushes it back out. This strengthens all rocket tanks, allowing their thickness to be minimized. But this application took it to the extreme to make up for steel's density. Our choice of material for aviation and aerospace applications has evolved with our mastery of material science, specifically with the materials available to us that have the highest strength-to-weight ratios. We can visualize these strength-to-weight ratios on a graph like this, plotting the strength of the material against its density. Looking at this, it's pretty clear that steel adds a significant amount of weight while not adding a proportional amount of strength. Steel is typically 2.5 times heavier than aluminium, but it is not 2.5 times stronger. So why use stainless steel? Well, strength-to-weight ratios are not the only factor engineers have to consider. Something you may not consider are things like thermal conductivity. Aluminium has a much higher thermal conductivity than steel, and thus Yo guys, Punk got another video. Can conduct heat from its surroundings into the cryogenic fuel much faster.
Try and get hit by the car. Alright, so I'm here at a busy parking lot, and I'm going to see if my car can actually come find me. Alright, I'd say that works. Alright, so I'm walking to the other side of the parking lot. We're going to see if the car can follow me to the other side of the parking lot. Let's give it a shot. So it actually shows me the path that it's going to take on the phone. It already knows that it has to go around these islands, and it's avoiding all of the spots with cars in them. So, I mean, that's wild. It must be using the map data in order to find a route to get here, which means that it has to use satellite mapping to know where I am in the car. This is crazy. I mean, I don't think it would work in a parking lot, but... So, I mean, it can use the camera, it can use its ultrasonic sensors to make sure that it doesn't bump into anything, and it must be using Google Maps data in order to figure out where it's going. So it seems a little concerned, but I mean, look at the speed of that. It really looks confident. I mean, it looks like a driver, if maybe a little timid. So it knew to come around the island, and I mean, this is amazing. I'm holding this in my hand, and it's my car. And it couldn't do this a week ago. It couldn't do this yesterday. All right, so it's cutting in. So it's altered the route since it started. I mean, come on, this is cool. If it was raining and I didn't mind waiting, this is perfect. There it is, summon complete. How about that? How about that? All right, now what I want to do is I want to send it. I want to send it into a parking spot. I want to see if it's even feasible. I'm going to see if I can put it over there. What I like is I press the button. That's way faster than even regular summon used to be. So this is already faster. And like, that's a speed that I would want it to travel at. And again, it's that is the point. I mean, that is pretty much exactly where I sent it to. Look. It's not supposed to park it. It's just supposed to bring it to you. And then it's your job to park it. But I mean, this is crazy. I can send it wherever I want. And I mean, that speed is really good. So now I'm going to try and get hit by the car. Wow! That's what I want it to do. That's exactly what I want it to do. And then it keeps going once I left. So if you're in a parking lot, I tried to get hit and it didn't hit me. That's awesome. Oh, hey. I don't want any trouble. Goes around me. Oh, I love how quiet that thing is. That's awesome. I don't need to drive my car anymore.
Wait, what are you doing?
What? I am out of here. Okay? What? You don't need to worry about it. I will ta-ta! I shall see. I tried to get hit and it didn't hit me. That's awesome. Oh, hey. I don't want any trouble. Goes around me. Oh, I love how quiet that thing is. That's awesome. I don't need to drive my car anymore. I am out of here. Okay? You don't need to worry about it. I will. Ta-ta! I shall see you later. Driver, take me away. I'm gonna give it a self-driving car. Help! Help! It's driving me. I'm never driving anywhere again. This is as fast as I'm going. Hang on, I'll come back. This is amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. The only problem is I can't get a Snapchat story of me doing this. Alright, so let's take a look at some of the features of version 10. We've got the entertainment system, which comes with Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, and the Tesla tutorials. I've got YouTube all set up, and this is awesome. I mean, come on. How cool is that? As soon as you tap the screen, you can adjust the volume, you can adjust the temperature in the car. You can even adjust the brightness, higher or lower, so you can have it nice and dim, whatever floats your boat. And then, yeah, navigation is just regular old YouTube. And it even saved my setting to have it be dark mode, which I really like. We got Netflix and Hulu. We didn't even know we were going to get Hulu. And then Tesla tutorials. There's not anything fancy. Just, the gear selection for the Model 3. Which you should probably already know how to use if you've been driving the car for a while. Now we head over to arcade mode. Of course, we have all the games that we know and love, like, Missile Command and Chess and Beach Buggy Racing 2. But now we get Cuphead, which is really awesome. So, I bought this game controller for like $11 on Amazon, and it works just as well as you would hope it would. So, and again, at any time you can adjust the volume. Alright, so with music we now have Spotify, which is really awesome because in the United States we haven't had Spotify. So you have your library of songs, so I can just head over to whatever artists, whatever stations, whatever playlists I have. Then you can also head over to featured playlists, which would be things that Spotify wants to show you. Obviously you have new releases, you can do genres and moods. You can also play We Got Sunny. And so instead of it starting like a slacker radio station where it may or may not play the song you just asked it to play, you can play the song. Just like that. Right next to Spotify, you may notice karaoke. So you click on that. It's got all of these different genres. Basically, it doesn't have all the music in the world because they had to produce some kind of content for this. But basically, you can choose from many different varieties of pop and rock and even some public domain things that we could show you. Let's see if we go back to before 1950 and Ants Go Marching. This obviously is not the song that you're going to want to be performing, but this is again just an example of what you can do. But they have Disney, they have all the songs that you'd actually want to sing. You can shut off them singing so you can sing yourself. Boom, 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 the ants go marching 2 by 2, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching, yeah, just like that, great. You can also, if you know the whole lyrics, you can listen as you drive. But you can't play karaoke when you're driving, although the passenger can. Oh, Tesla, you sly dog. They've also added some new map improvements. So if you go to navigate, you'll see instead of just home and work, you can look for I'm feeling hungry or I'm feeling lucky. So I'm feeling lucky. The Boston Museum of Fine Arts. So this is near me, roughly. I mean, it's within a typical drive, I would say. So you can either navigate, you can call to see if they're open. It says that they're open. I haven't tested out whether, it'll find places that are only open. We'll have to find out. It'll also let you go to the website itself, which gets into the next option here, which is that everything on the map now is a smart point. Let's, for instance, say, I don't want to go to the Museum of Fine Arts. I want to go to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. I could either navigate, call, or go to their website. So if I wanted to just go to their website, I could go to their website in just a few seconds. Even with sound, you get sound on the website. This is a huge improvement because before you would see all of these dots and you wouldn't be able to say like, oh, that place looks good. Let's go to the hospital. Let's go to their website. All right, we can also look for, I'm feeling hungry. So it's going to find a restaurant that's pretty near to me. Hey, that's pretty near to me. If I don't like that one, you just hit I'm feeling hungry again. And it'll find, other restaurants. These ones are actually a lot closer than the I'm feeling lucky. I think the I'm feeling lucky is supposed to take you to somewhere that's nearby-ish. As you can see, in order to navigate there. It's about a 45-minute drive. So I think what it's doing is it's trying to get you, out of your comfort zone. With the I'm feeling lucky, but the I'm feeling hungry is always nice and nearby. All right, so one of the new modes that they just added is Joe mode. And basically what this does is you turn it on, and you could read it here. Enabling Joe mode reduces the volume of your car's chimes. The quieter chimes continue to alert the driver effectively and minimize disruption to passengers in the rear seats. Example, Joe's kids. So, I mean, I've just turned on Joe mode. That means that, when the car tells me things, it's going to be a lot quieter. So let's just do a quick example. That was trying to get into autopilot when autopilot is not available. Joe mode's nice because it's actually going to quiet things down. It's not necessarily going to wake up your kids as frequently. They've also made an update to Sentry mode and dash cam. Basically, it's going to cull through and delete files that you haven't specifically marked. The way that you would mark it is while you were driving, you'd come up and tap the camera button. I don't have it on right now because I don't have the USB stick in there. It's going to go through and delete your oldest Sentry mode files, which is going to be cleaning up space on the drive, which means that you don't manually have to clean out the space, which is going to be convenient. And it means that basically, if you walk up to your car and there's a dent in it, you're going to be checking your Sentry mode footage right away. You're not going to be like driving somewhere with the stick still in the car. So the visualization on the highway has changed. You can see where the lane lines are lane lines. I mean, if I disengage autopilot for a second, you can see that it actually looks like the highway that I'm driving on. It knows, what parts are outside of the highway, and which parts are part of the highway. So it's no longer just a bunch of lines. It's actually, the dotted lines of the lane lines. I'm going to tell it to go and take a left. It sees that there's the car there, and it's showing the visualization, and it's actually setting it onto where the car is going. And if I wanted to, I could zoom out, and it could actually see the cars behind me. I mean, that's a really cool view of what's going on. So now if I wanted to take that right lane change again, turn on my right blinker, it would actually show me from this position, what that would look like. So now it sees an extra lane on the right because that's an exit lane, and I can switch over to it. That visualization, I must say, makes me feel a lot more comfortable. It knows what the car needs to do, and it's showing that to me. And so that makes me feel so much better. Like those lane changes, those are the first time I've ever done it. That made me feel so much more comfortable. All right, so, and I'm coming off the highway and it's automatically braking. I don't know if it sees the cars way out ahead of me or it just knows that the highway is ending. I don't know. It's okay. It's pulling up to the stop sign as I would. Like this is all extremely controlled. That's like chauffeur level style of driving. Like you didn't even feel it almost stop there. Wow. That's amazing. And it just upgraded the speed. What is going on? It's driving the car itself. After that exit went so smoothly, I want to see how this handles just like this is the worst roundabout turned into an even worse roundabout in the history of this state. So I want to see how it handles it. Seems to be handling it pretty well. Sees the cars in front of us. That was a little bit more deacceleration than I would do, but I mean, that's not bad. That was some pretty spirited acceleration. Seems that's pretty fine. Let's see if it knows what to do here. That's what I do anyway. Get a little freaked out. Oh. I go into this level. But I'm gonna throw it back in. Okay, so I'm throwing it back in. It's getting on the highway. Merged lanes successfully. I don't know. I'm just throwing it in. I'll set it to the speed limit of the highway. That'll help. So now I'll put on my blinker. It's getting on the highway. It's on the highway. Wow. It seems to be doing just fine. I mean, it even sees cars coming up from behind me, and it shows me them. Now, it doesn't show the car directly behind me. I think that might be because he has his headlights on, and so he doesn't have a very good silhouette. But the cars in my left lane definitely are showing up. And the cars very far away from me, very far out ahead of me, because I'm not going very fast, are also showing up. I mean, this, even if it doesn't help you accomplish anything, what this does is it makes me feel so much more secure about the car. I mean, it can see that lane change that just happened way out ahead of us. All right, so another thing you can do with the app is control the windows. So you can set the windows to vent. This rolls down the windows just a hair. You can stick your fingers in. You can see just like that. You can set them to close. And now this works, right, regardless of what the windows were doing before. These are smart windows. So now I have it wide open, and oh my gosh, it's beginning to rain. So now with my app, close. There's no delay. I can't get over the fact that there's no delay and that this would probably work from anywhere in the world. You can see what's going on with your car. You can see the interior temperature. You can see from inside work or your house that the car is 110 degrees inside because it's so hot out. But you could see that the air temperature was 90 degrees because, you know, it's a hot day, but it's not 110 out. So you could vent the car first, and then you could turn on the air conditioning before you leave, which would save just, you know, a little bit of power. There's so many awesome possibilities. This update is amazing.
Thanks so much for watching Now You Know. We work hard to bring you videos about things that we think you'll find useful, but we need to know from you what you want to see, so leave your comments below. Also, don't forget to go over to our Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you can watch our Patreon bonus story every week on Tesla Time News. Thanks again.
Despite the fact that I could bring home pretty much any TV I wanted from our studio, I'm actually still using the first generation LG Signature OLED that I set up in here about 2 years ago. The industrial design looks absolutely perfect in my living room, and while OLED technology has actually come a long way in that time, the image quality on it is like already good enough for me. But even though I am the kind of person for whom OLED was pretty much made, I've come to a realization that screen over there is actually the primary gaming display in this house. So my son's not allowed to play mobile games. I find very little time to cloister myself away in the office upstairs, so I do most of my gaming here, which means we actually game here more than we watch movies or TV. So, this is the ROG Swift PG65U, ASUS's big format gaming display for VFGD. Let's see if it can take over my living room. Private internet access. That's exactly what you'll get with PIA, a safe and protected IP. And it's got loads of other features as well. Check it out at the link in the video description. Now, the funny thing about this product is you guys might actually remember seeing it on our channel months ago, but it's only just now making its way to retail shelves. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One, is that ASUS felt like they needed a little bit more time to cook it, and two, is that they were actually working on some really cool features. So something that the PG65U has that other BFGDs don't is the ability to run variable refresh rate, not just on the DisplayPort input for PC, but also on the HDMI input if you're more of an Xbox gamer, for example. And this is some of the heaviest, most dense foam that I have ever encountered. Look at this. I shouldn't step on just one side. Oh, that's good. Look at that. It is barely even compressing. Someone worked hard on that little piece of paper, but we don't care. Is this an included calibrator? You know what I think this is an ambient light sensor. So this is another thing ASUS was working on. In our review of HP's BFGD, we weren't that impressed with the fact that it uses its integrated NVIDIA Shield as the only controller for the TV. So this one has a separate TV controller. The flip side of that, though, is that the ROG Swift doesn't have an integrated NVIDIA Shield. Actually, I'm gonna have to take off my sweater. I think I'm getting a little warm. LTTstore.com. Shield as the only calibrator? You know, it is barely even compressing. Someone worked hard on that little piece of paper, but we don't care. Is this an included calibrator? You know what I think this is an ambient light sensor. So this is another thing ASUS was working on. In our review of HP's BFGD, we weren't that impressed with the fact that it uses its integrated NVIDIA Shield as the only controller for the TV. So this one has a separate TV controller. The flip side of that, though, is that the ROG Swift doesn't have an integrated NVIDIA Shield. Actually, I'm gonna have to take off my sweater. I think I'm getting a little warm. LTTstore.com. So it actually has the stand on it already. That's nice, but it does make it a bit of a challenge to get out of here. Oh boy. Not all of how dark my shirt is right now is sweat. Some of it is rain. It's raining out there. See, this box is wet. Evidence that it was raining. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. I gotta say, one thing about these BFGDs is that it's kind of like going back in time. This is pretty thick. The good news is that for my setup, it doesn't matter because I have to have a large console down here anyway, so it makes no difference for me, but for some people that might be a consideration. So it uses a nipple-style navigation joystick over here, but then it also has these other 4 buttons, which I guess we'll investigate later. Power switch, power input, there's the integrated USB 3 hub. It's got, wow, this is really nice. It's actually got 4 HDMI inputs, which is great, DisplayPort in, and optical audio. I figured out what that thing is. There's a dedicated AuraSync USB port here. It's an RGB light. Well then, we might as well install it. Shadow. Honey, that's the VESA mount. So yes, the nice people on YouTube do need to know about the VESA mount on the back, but you don't need to pause. Thank you. Oh, thank goodness. I actually wasn't sure what type of remote they were using. I use a Logitech Harmony, and it occurred to me that this thing is so new, it might not have all the codes, so this is going to be a little bit of tedious reprogramming, but that's okay. Sorry, bud, you've served me well. Guess it's time for you to go out to pasture, though. Now, one thing I have immediately noticed here that is going to be a bit of a downgrade is that this TV does not have any type of analog inputs. So I don't think I have anything plugged into my component cables back there, but it just means I'm not going to have that option. Now, the BFGD I had kind of accounted for moving on my own. This one, with its integrated soundbar and everything, I kind of haven't. I will try not to break it, but if I break it, it better be on camera. All right, I'm gonna stash this over here. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Sweet. Oh, that is some dust. And it's gone. Am I high enough?
Yeah.
It's a little. Oh, now stop. All right. Yep. Got it. Okay. There we go. Okay, dash, no. No. Oh, weird. I just realized this TV doesn't have an Ethernet port because it doesn't have an NVIDIA Shield. That makes sense. So it's not a smart TV. Wow, it's got a cooling fan in here. When I plugged this thing in, it went... Not actually a feature that's desirable for television, but... One thing that's giving me pause already is the very gamery aesthetic. Now this, I have been over for a long time when it comes to monitors, but this is my living room. I think I'd probably have to wall mount this thing in order to feel like it doesn't look kind of stupid. Like just these little red accents on the bottom here, the ROG logo, doesn't make sense. Shoot. I forgot that my gaming PC in the living room is actually running a mere 980 Ti. Now, that's still a pretty decent graphics card for most applications, but if you're gonna have any hope of running 4K high refresh rate, it is woefully inadequate. Oh wow, this is actually kind of a janky rig. I haven't worked on this in a while and I forgot. So physically it looks like an RTX 2080 Ti is gonna fit in here, but this is only an Antec TruePower 550 power supply. It also occurs to me now that back when I built this, 4th gen Core i5 was a pretty decent gaming processor. You've served me well, 980 Ti VR edition with the special HDMI port on the back. So, there's only one solution. Bring my gaming rig with the RTX Titan in it down to the living room and spend some real quality time with this thing tonight. I will know for sure whether it's worth putting the clearly significant amount of effort that it's gonna be into switching to this thing. All right, so I spent the night with this puppy and I ran into a lot of problems. This needs to be wall mounted, like being able to see the back of the stand and some wires back here and stuff like that. It's not tidy, it's gotta go on the wall. I didn't even think of this before I started, but the optical audio cable has been basically obsolete for about 10 years now, ever since Blu-ray and the HD audio formats that came with it started appearing in the wild because there's no standard for it, cannot carry HD audio. The way you get HD audio from whatever's playing it to whatever's supposed to be making the noises in the airwaves is over HDMI. You go out from your source, so in this case it's a computer, into your, excuse me, your AV receiver, which is then plugged into your multi-channel speaker arrangement. Except we aren't using HDMI. We're going DisplayPort directly into the TV, and we need audio to go to the receiver some other way. So one idea I came up with was to set up my receiver as kind of like a phantom secondary output and clone the output from my DisplayPort TV to my receiver. So you can see I'm plugged into the aux jack at the front here, and we've got our two displays cloned, and actually everything here looks like it's gonna go just fine until we go into the Windows HD color menu and womp womp. When you're cloning, there is no way to enable HDR. So you'll see what happens here is when I set these to not clone, oh no, why is to the primary display? I was playing around with this all night last night and I couldn't get HDR enabled on this display, even when they were extended. It just kept, I kept hitting the box and it kept saying, would you like to apply this change? And I said, yeah. And then the box would just go back to where it was. Yes, the audio is working correctly over my speakers. You hear that wicked coil whine coming out of my desktop machine? I never noticed because it sits in a closet by itself, but seems to be coming from the Titan. Yeah, I know, that's how I feel about it too. I am so happy right now. I don't know why it didn't work last night, and I don't know why it's working now, but ow. So that's great. That was actually the biggest problem that I had no way to solve, because while it is a pretty kludgy solution, I found this great app in like 2 minutes called, what is this? Dual Monitor Tools. It allows you to lock your cursor onto a single screen on boot up, so you don't have to run around and reconfigure it. freaking awesome. And thanks to my Logitech Harmony remote, no one else in my family has to know about all this kludgy nonsense because I can just go, okay, when we're ready to watch PC, the receiver fires up, it switches to this input, we have the TV turned on. There's how it would work. ASUS has not apparently gotten in touch with Logitech, so the PG65U is not in their database for their Harmony remotes, which wouldn't be a problem because you can actually train your Harmony remote using your existing remote if your existing remote doesn't kind of suck. ASUS was pretty proud of their better remote experience compared to HP, but better means like 3 more buttons. So there's a number of functions that I would need in order to integrate this with my Harmony setup that I don't have. First is dedicated power on and off buttons. A power toggle means that if the IR signal ever gets missed, you get out of sync, so it starts firing up your receiver and turning off your TV, and then vice versa every time you try to start a scene. Number 2 is it needs dedicated buttons for the inputs, not just an input selector button that works once in a while, and then scrolling through the inputs. Why can't I roll over once I get to the end of a menu? That's just basic stuff, you guys. And also these programmable buttons, while a really good idea in theory that would have allowed me to train my Harmony remote with all those functions, can only do a couple of things. Brightness, input select, game plus, and game visual. Why would input select be one of them? I already have an input select button. And I haven't even gotten into the issues with movies yet. Now, I did say we game more on this TV than we watch movies, but that doesn't mean that we don't watch movies. And this one isn't ASUS's fault in particular, but the Plex app for PC, you can see results in this very washed out, ugly, gross picture when I'm in HDR mode on my monitor. Switching over to an NVIDIA Shield, on the other hand, for whatever reason, this looks exactly like you'd expect HDR content to look, and it's exactly the same file. Now, the good news here is that aside from the glow around my mute icon here, one moment please. Ah, that's better. Local dimming has its issues, but the good news is that when the stars align and you get HDR content going on this thing, it looks absolutely freaking awesome. I'm really pleased to say that one of my major concerns going from OLED